The one and only Ian Beckles. We still have Ian Beckles N on there. We got to fix that. We got to get that.
What happened?
Ian Beckles N?
It stands for Negro.
I would. I'm not saying that.
Okay, you can say Negro if you want.
I can't say that. No way.
You can. You'll be fine.
No. How was your weekend, man?
Weekend was cool. It was productive for the most part. But I laid low after my Puerto Rican trip. I need to catch up on some sleep, so I just laid low.
Puerto Rico, man. Again, this is our audience. We spoke about Beckles and Recher last week, but for our J Recher podcast audience, let everybody know what you were doing for the Puerto Rico trip.
Yeah, I mean, I went with a couple buddies from the Dignitary Cafe, and they said it was a father and son. They said, "Hey, we're going to Puerto Rico. You want to come?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I like you. I like people to organize stuff for me." So
Right.
we went to Puerto Rico, hung out. It really turned into a food trip. We just we went to a lot of restaurants and ate a lot of food and spent a lot of money, and it was cool. It's a little bit more expensive than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be a little bit more like Colombia prices, but it was more U.S. prices, wasn't it?
Yeah, Colombia, they giving stuff away. In Puerto Rico, you might as well be in Tampa Bay. You might as well.
Beck, what do you remember from rookie minicamp? And I don't know if the situation was the same. And obviously, the scheduling is so much different now than it was. And, you used to tell me about 2-a-days and 3-a-days and things like that.
Mhm.
But what do you remember from rookie minicamp? What do you remember the first time you went to that Buccaneers facility?
You mean in the off season you're talking about?
Yeah. After you got
Uh,
drafted.
yeah, it was so much. I don't know if I can remember any of it because
Mhm.
it's when you go into something new, everything is shocking. Sometimes when you go up a level, the facilities are shocking. That was not the case in Tampa Bay, uh, but the level was shocking because when you get placed through college, you think you're the shit, and I'm better than everybody. When you get to the NFL, I'm letting everybody know you ain't better than nobody, especially as a rookie. So it's a kind of a rude way to get christened into the NFL, and it lasted all the way through training camp because you're just trying to survive. That's about it.
When you're a rookie going into rookie minicamp, are you checking everybody? Are you seeing like, all right, knowing that, all right, the big dogs ain't there yet, but just knowing that you're one of the young guys out there, what's that kind of like measuring out process? Like, even if, when those guys come, like knowing like, hey, am I going to be a leader amongst the group? Because it's, you're always trying to check where you stand in life.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like it was when I got to Indiana, and I came from junior college and I played with all the freshmen. So I was just trying to prove that I was better than all the cats there. So rookie camp, you're just trying to prove that you belong, um, and the level's gonna up a little bit, but it's not like guys who you haven't played it. Because when you get to training camp, you're gonna get your ass kicked. That's just the
Right.
way it is. But rookie training camp, you just want to feel like you belong. You kind of try to blend in. I was very blessed to have, Tony Mayberry with me, who we kind of grew up together. We kind of not literally, but kind of held each other's hand through the whole thing and made it a lot easier. But not everybody has somebody like that come go through the whole 7 years that I was here in Tampa Bay. But it sure helped out. But looking back, it was a lot to ingest. That's for sure.
Do you think you would have made it as far as you did in your NFL career without Tony?
I don't know the answer to that. Maybe I'd
Mhm.
have found another Tony,
Right. Yeah.
but I mean, to be drafted the same year as somebody, a couple picks apart, to play next to each other for 7 years, to room together, have lockers beside each other. He was 61, I was 62. We roomed together. It kind of sounds gay, but we were. Uh, it was one of those things where afterwards I realized how important he was
Right.
because when you're going through the same thing and you're going through all the trials and tribulations, it's nice to have somebody to talk to. Um, Tony was my voice of reason, and I might have been the same for him because I started a year before Tony. So when Tony got in there, I was the one saying, "Hey, watch out for this, watch out for this." And a year later, he picked everything up, and he was an intelligent player, so that was no problem.
Beck, what do you make of these guys? I mean, I look at Shamar Stewart there with the Cincinnati Bengals and, not, participating until his contract's getting signed. Where do you fall on that? Because obviously we know it's a business. But it's never gonna listen. We showed up to One Buck on Friday. Emeka Ibuka is signed before we even talked to him, and he's out there with the team. I don't know if this is ever a good thing. We know it's part of the business, but when you see that just on the surface level, Cincinnati Bengals, you obviously need help on defense. And your guy saying, yeah, I'm not going to participate until my contract gets signed. What's your first instinct when you see that?
I hate to comment on everybody else's business because everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know his situation. Listen, the long and short of it is, if you go to minicamp unsigned and tear your ankle out the socket, they aren't going to give a shit about you.
Right.
They're really not. I mean, they're just going to give you the lowest money they can give you and say, hey, if you come back, you come back. If not, it sucks to be you. So you're really protecting your ass. I used to be that guy that hated athletes, not playing in bowl games and stuff like that. I just think that's the way it is now, Jay. It's business. When they got a chance to screw you, they're going to screw you. Right now, you got to protect your ass. And, at the long and short of it, at the end of it, if he can play, it won't matter. I mean, if he goes to training camp and he can play, everybody's going to forget about this. They're going to forget about this real soon.
It's funny, looking at this situation with young players coming up and, undrafted guys. And, Shiloh Sanders has been he was almost a bigger story over the weekend than I think Shedeur himself. I mean, Shedeur with some passes. I don't know how much you can really check down throws, but Shiloh made a really good impression early on. Todd Bowles saying about how he was very vocal. He went in and shook everybody's hand. He's talking about, I got to learn how to get snacks for some of the players on defense. There's, for all the talk about the Sanders and all the negative things that we've seen the last couple of months. I mean, Shiloh asserted himself well. I know it's tough because I don't know if anybody really watched him, and pined over his tape like we have with Shedeur. It's so much different from a safety to a guy that could have went at the top of the draft as a quarterback. But what do you think about a guy like Shiloh Sanders and going into this situation? It seems like he's got his head in the right place to try to at least make this team.
Well, I'll be honest with you. With Shedeur, I don't think I heard a negative thing about Shedeur until the draft. And then all of a sudden, everything was negative. Like, I didn't hear one positive thing about Shedeur throughout the whole draft. Maybe that's his fault. Maybe that's Deion's fault. I don't know whose fault it was, but it sure seemed that way. There's going to be pluses and minuses to having Jadeveon Sanders as your father. I can't think of too many minuses on the field. All right, so he should be well prepared. Imagine having the best corner of all time. Now, listen, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, they weren't great coaches. Not everybody can coach, but like we say with Antoine Winfield Jr., if that's your dad, that after a game you're breaking down film and you're saying, "Hey, what's happening here? What do you see here?" I don't see how you can be how you can't be uber knowledgeable. So I've never heard anything negative about Shiloh. Once again, I never heard anything negative about Shedeur either.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe you should embrace the fact that he's Jadeveon Sanders' kid and then go from there, because I've not heard the negative things. I really haven't.
There's been a lot of great support locally and nationally. I mean, I even just posted something short on Shiloh and got a lot of great, support. I got a lot of great feedback, got a lot of great run on it. Selfishly, it's good for, my viewers and followers and all things like that. But it's just, I think there's some part of it. It's like, all right, well, maybe, and I don't know if it's at the detriment or just because he's not Shedeur, but maybe there's people that want to see Shiloh succeed, right? Like, and I'm not talking about the Bucs fan base. It was like, well, he was a guy that was maybe under the radar a little bit. Maybe he can kind of be that undrafted guy, because sometimes those are the best stories in the NFL, the undrafted guys that are able to come up and make some hay. So we'll see, because he did get paid, right, which is good. So I think it was a 3-year, 2 point something. So hey, good for him to be able to get the contract. And we saw the video from Jadeveon Sanders when they showed that the Buccaneers were that team. He was so happy because he knew that Todd was going to give him the opportunity. And we go back to it, Beck. Those type of things, whether you agree with Deion or not, whether you agree with Shedeur or not, those type of things are so important because there's a trust around the league that Todd Bowles is no BS. Todd Bowles is going to give you an opportunity. If it works, it works. It doesn't work, it doesn't work. Shake your hand, you move on. How valuable is that? As a guy that played in the league, regardless of whether we feel he's the right coach or the wrong coach, you like his decision-making or you're not decision-making, but just as a man, as the respect of a guy that played in the league, a guy that's coached in the league for a while, and a guy that's had success in this league, I think that is one of those things that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. That maybe it did get talked about after the Liam Cohen situation, but I think that's a shining example of whether you agree or disagree with Dion or not, like there is a comfort level that a dad that played in the National Football League is comfortable with Todd Bowles, looking after his kid.
Yeah, I don't know if Dion knows Todd Bowles personally. If he does, that's probably helps. I think we're putting too much just stock in Dion because it's not about Dion anymore. It's about Shiloh. You know what I mean? It's if Shiloh can play, then Todd Bowles will help him. If Shiloh can't play, Todd Bowles can't help him. He really can't. If Shiloh can't play, Todd Bowles is not going to wait one. Okay, this is because he's Deion Sanders' kid, and you almost have to say it every time. It's Deion Sanders' kid. We're talking about him, okay? Because what is he, a sixth rounder? Okay, if he wasn't Deion Sanders,
he wasn't drafted.
Okay, he wasn't drafted. So how many undrafted football players are we talking about? Now, I understand that's part of Hollywood and Dion is Hollywood, but Todd Bowles is not going to spend one extra second on Shiloh Sanders if he can't play. If he can play, he's going to be all in, and he's going to teach him whatever he can. If he can't play, he'll just go away. So, for myself as a player, I had coaches that would help me, but I could play. If I couldn't play, there's nothing they can do to help me. So it's all up to Shiloh. It's about Shiloh studying, being ready to play. Forget the name on the back of your jersey because once you get to the NFL, nobody's going to give a shit.
I guess what my question is more on the other side of like from Dion's perspective, and from Shiloh's, well, not Shiloh, but Dion's perspective, right? Like if you're a guy, let's say it wasn't Dion, like Mike Tomlin's son is actually out there with the Buccaneers too. Like I feel like there's something that has to be said of, there's a reason why Drew Rosenhaus, rang up the Bucs for Shiloh to go to because there's a trust level there, and I guess that's more my question, Ian, of like the trust factor that Todd Bowles has around the league because of who he is as a man and just because he's been around the league.
I think that carries some weight. Once again, I don't know what Dion's exposure is to Todd Bowles, but if you know Todd, and if you even on the outside looking in, he just seems like a regular, easygoing, fair guy. Okay, you don't hear a lot of issues off the field. You don't hear a lot of players going against Todd Bowles. That's my thing. When everybody's like, "We got to get rid of Todd Bowles," for who? For who? So for whoever we bring in here is going to have some question marks. Other than not winning championships, Todd Bowles, and he kind of has, Todd Bowles don't have no question marks. I never heard him lose in the locker room. I don't believe I've heard one player speak out against Todd Bowles. I don't believe. Okay, so to me, I don't know why people are ready to move from Todd Bowles. Coaches don't win Super Bowls, okay? Players win Super Bowls. Todd Bowles is a good enough coach to win a Super Bowl with the right players. And I'll argue that to any single person on this planet.
Beck, we also saw that Derek Carr announced his retirement, no longer with the Saints. Who the hell knows who's going to be under center for those guys? But, I thought the Falcons are probably the second best team in the division. God knows Carolina's so far off. But, I mean, I know it's still early. I know that there's a lot that needs to go. But it just seems like the Buccaneers, if they stay on the right path, they're going to give themselves a chance to win this division. And it's kind of crazy to say that on May 12th. But, I mean, you look at what other teams are doing, it's just – you just got to kind of stay the course, right? Stay the course, stay healthy, do the right thing. And you got to feel positive and optimistic if you're a Bucs fan going into 2025.
If Baker Mayfield is standing up at the end of the season, I think the Bucs make the playoffs. Okay, I think he's good enough in this division to say that. The Bucs have kind of won by default here in the past. They deserved it, no doubt. I'll be honest with you, Jay. I'm tired of talking about the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons are like the Cardinals. Oh, watch out for the Cardinals. They don't do shit. And when I watch them, look, I know, last year bringing Raheem in, it brought a little energy, but they just looked like the Falcons last year. They didn't look any different to me at the end of the year. Some of their Pitts and all those guys, they don't have great football players anymore. So the Falcons got to prove to me, because if you say right now, bet your house where the Falcons go 500, I go under every time. The Falcons are not overly impressive to me.
I mean, the biggest thing they did in the offseason was let their defensive coordinator's son prank call Shilo Sanders.
Yeah, to me, that doesn't sound like an organization that has things under control. That ain't gonna happen with the Patriots, with Belichick, or with Tomlin, or here. I don't see it happening. I really don't.
How do you think? I mean, obviously, it's going to be year 2 for Raheem, and I don't remember Raheem's because I was really earlier on in my tenure at the radio station. But what do you think of Raheem after year one? What do you think going into this? Because it's obviously it was like, oh, he's a player's coach, everybody loves him, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, like whether you're a player's coach or not, like it's about results, like you just alluded to. What is your take on Raheem after year one? Do you think he can be? It's everybody wants to cheer for the guy, but I mean, at the end of the day, being a nice guy and being a good coach are two different things.
The moniker of player's coach is the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard in my life. Mm-hmm. You ever heard of a player's coach that lost? Okay, so just because you're personable doesn't make you a player's coach, because lose 2 years in a row and see how personal. He was a player's coach when he was here last time with the Buccaneers. He was a player's coach. You know why he was a player's coach? Because he was at the club partying with the players. That makes you a player's coach. Does it equal victories? Hell no, okay? So Raheem, I think he's probably 500 times more prepared to be a head coach this time than he was last time, because he clearly was not ready last time. But once again, I got to go back to, you got to have players, you got to have systems, you got to have people around you who know how to win, that know what it looks like. And Raheem is a great defensive coordinator. He's great. I don't know if I can say he's a great head coach. Not yet, because he hasn't done enough for me. I like Raheem as a person. I think he could succeed if he has the right people around him, but I'm not sure that's the case yet.
One name that has been bandied about in the last couple of weeks because he's now a free agent is one of your favorite players of all time, Jadeveon Clowney. People are wondering if Jadeveon Clowney would be somebody that the Buccaneers would kick the tires on. Would you be okay financially if it made sense that the Buccaneers brought in Jadeveon Clowney for an edge rush?
I'm good. I mean,
I'm good.
I'm good. I mean, he's legit. Clowney would have been an okay football player if he wasn't drafted so high with such high expectations. He's not a terrible. I will put him in the category of Gerald McCoy. I don't think he's a bad football player. We just shouldn't talk about them this much because they don't do enough. And Gerald McCoy and Jadeveon Clowney play the same way to me. They make plays, not that many, but they're out of position a lot. And for some people who don't understand the game of football, you could watch somebody and go, oh, that was a great play. Not if you guessed. Football's not about guessing. Football's about being in the right place at the right time all the time. And the great ones do. It's not about making the plays. But back in the day, the Buccaneers were in the right gaps. There's no freelancing. Too much freelancing in Jadeveon Clowney's game for me, and I just don't think that equates to great defense.
How many times has Jadeveon Clowney had more than 10 sacks or more in a season?
I would say either one or none.
0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. I mean, to be fair, he's had a nice career as far as being around. Like he's 11 seasons into the, play 11 years of the NFL, man. To play 140 games, he has 58 sacks. I mean, if I would have told you the guy that gets drafted that high, and we know in year one he only played 4 games, but Beck, if you're talking about a guy that played 3, 6, 9, 11 years and only has 58 sacks, I mean, that's less than 6 sacks a year. It's an interesting career. Mm-hmm. It really is, because, I don't think it's fair to call him a bust.
I didn't call him that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I don't think it's fair to call him a bust, but I 58 sacks in 11 seasons, man. Like that's less than 6 a year. And you're a guy that's not 1 year. I mean, you had a couple of 9 sack, 9.5. It's an interesting career. I mean, good for him to be. Listen, you play more than 10 years in any professional league. Like, kudos to you. But he is a very unique situation where he's been able to kind of hang around. He's been able to kind of do his thing. Is that more of just a product of it's so hard to find good pass rushers, right? Like, he's not a great pass rusher. I think he's probably, what would you say, above average?
No. I think he's an average pass rusher that's out of position a lot. And like what you just said, we almost said the same thing with different words. I don't want to dog somebody out that played 11 years because I don't have a right. I only played for 9 years.
Yeah.
If you were a 5th-round pick and you had 40-something sacks, you'd be like, great career. But if you're that high and everybody thought you were unblockable, like I called the Outback Bowl when South Carolina was playing, and I think he had that big hit. I think it might have been the 3rd or 4th quarter.
Michigan, right?
If you go back and listen to the broadcast, I remember saying, I've been watching Jadeveon Clowney, and he hasn't done squat. And at that moment, he was unblocked and came down and decapitated a running back. Not a great play, Jay. He didn't beat it. He didn't beat anybody. He didn't do anything but kill a running back. It don't work like that in the league. You're gonna have a guy across from you, 6'7", 340, with long ass arms glued on you, and it doesn't work that way. So, Jadeveon Clowney is one of those guys where you're right about pass rushers. You, 6 sacks doesn't sound like a lot, but it's usually second or third on a lot of teams, including the Buccaneers.
Right.
So it's still 6 sacks, and the 6 sacks and a couple pressures. Sometimes it's worth a little bit of money, but if it's discipline, and I just don't think Jadeveon Clowney is a disciplined football player, and to me that's very important.
He's got 58 career sacks. You know who's got 59 career sacks? Hassan Reddick,
Wow.
Shaq Barrett.
Wow.
59 and a half, Max Crosby.
Well,
DeMarcus Lawrence is 61 and a half. Bosa's got 62 and a half. Justin Tuck, 66 and a half. Those guys played for a long time. Yeah, I mean, Cam Hayward, 88 and a half. That's a lot of sacks.
yeah, we've been playing 15 years though. 15 years though.
Cam Hayward played with you, bro.
Yeah, he played a long time, bro. For real. He has leather helmets.
But he's a D tackle. I mean, that's a lot of
bad
guys.
Boy though. He's a borderline Hall of Famer.
You think so? I think.
Yeah. Think about those sacks on the inside, brother. Who's generating sacks on the inside anymore? There's barely anybody.
Chris Jones. Now that Aaron Donald's retired, nobody, right?
You know what, Chris Jones? Let me ask you: does Chris Jones go to Hall of Fame?
Real quick.
No defensive player of the year. He has never really led in anything.
All right, hold on. I'm going to give you Cam Hayward first because I have that up. All right, Cam Hayward, Walter Payton Man of the Year in 2023. That start.
Huge.
That's part of it.
Huge.
4-time first team All Pro. You know,
it's done. Stop.
You and me go 3 and 5. 3 first team All Pros, 5-time Pro Bowlers. Yeah, that's our thing. 4-time first team All Pro, 2nd team All Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler. Yeah, he's in. He's in.
Done.
Chris Jones, who is now. Chris Jones is 30. Okay. 3-time Super Bowl champion.
Okay.
3-time first team All Pro. That's big.
Okay.
3-time second team All Pro, which is big, and 6-time Pro Bowler. I think he's in, Beck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say he's not. Gonna say he's not.
He's on. I think 3-time Super Bowl champ helps too.
I think it's the era he's in as well. There's not a lot of inside guys at all. I mean, he's the best. I told you he was the best 5 years ago, but he's definitely the best now.
I think he's in a spot right now where he is in a good spot that Aaron Donald retired.
Yeah.
That people can talk about him now. And the whole thing with him, with Chris Jones, is when he sat out that opening day last year and he was in this, like, things like that matter because then they lose. Remember, they lost that game to Detroit opening night. He was in the press box and then he comes back and then they win the Super Bowl. So it's like narratives help too, don't they, in the NFL? Like, I'm sure you've seen it too, where, you know, you have a guy and you're like, oh, is he good? Is he not good? We don't know. And then something like that happens and it fits so perfectly for the player. And that never leaves. It never leaves. Like, people are always going to remember that about Chris Jones.
And watching Chris Jones, and I told you what I thought about him before really anybody talked about him. And if you ask me who would I rather play against, Aaron Donald or Chris Jones, I'll take Aaron Donald, bro. I don't have nothing for Chris Jones. I can battle Aaron Donald's little spark plug strong ass. I'll battle him. I'm not saying I'm going to win. But Chris Jones and that length is going to be a problem for this brother here. No, thank you.
Beck, what's going on at the Dignitary Cafe?
Bro, we just hustle like we do every day. For Memorial Day weekend, we have a lovely young lady, Sandy, that's going to be bringing her food truck here, and she has like Asian Cajun food, and she has the best grits and shrimp and grits in town.
Whoa.
So she's going to be here cooking on a Friday and a Saturday and Sunday. Maybe Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you got to bring your narrow ass over here and get you some shrimp and grits, though.
Shrimp and grits, man. That is the key to my heart.
Yeah.
Follow him on Instagram, Ian_Beckles. Make sure you check out the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. You guys got to turn the air down. It's hotter than a tea kettle up in here, boy.
First of all, you're not going to make rules in our place when I'm trying to go in there, trying to get a tripod, and you're in there infiltrating my area.
Is this one right here? Which one?
Yeah, that one. The one you have your hand on, dick.
Is it the one with the camera on it?
Nah, it's a little bitty one. I'm not sophisticated enough for one with camera on it.
Come get it. You're good.
Nah, it's too late now, dog.
Too late now, dog. All right, brother. I appreciate it. Wednesday, Beckles and Recher podcast, recording right here in this spot right here. Beck, appreciate you, man.
One love.
All right, buddy.